Hello students. Today we'll discuss Lacan's seminar and the different concepts that he had discussed in this seminar. To begin with, Lacan presented a seminar on Poe's The Proline Letter as a part of his year-long seminar on the meaning of repetition, automatism, which is called as Wiederholungszwang, and memory in Sigmund Freud's Beyond the Pleasure Principle. So the essay was apparently so significant to Lacan that he chose to publish it in his collection, The Seminar of Jacques Lacan, Book 2, The Ego in Freud's Theory and in the Technique of Psychoanalysis, 1954-55. So Freud had also famously based a number of his central psychoanalytic theories in literary texts, example Oedipus, Hoffman's Sandman, fairy tales, King Lear. And in his interpretation of dreams, he identified condensation and displacement as a key indication of unconscious material in the text as well as dream. So Lacan was to some extent following Freud's footstep by analyzing Poe's short story, and certainly literary critics with a psychoanalytic bent were attracted to Poe long before Marie Bonaparte's famous biography put his so-called mother fixation on public display. So they may have also, however, acknowledged that following the Siren's song of psychoanalysis and sailing into Poe's biographical psychological territory can leave one on the rocks of confusion, not to mention potential pedagogical disaster. So further we move on to introduce Lacan. Lacan is generally regarded as modernizer of Freud. This we had already discussed in the previous lecture. So instead of relying on Freud's tendency to ferret out hidden meaning from the unconscious mind, Lacan focuses on how the mind's process can be read through the use of language. This is the basic difference between Freud and Lacan. So the part which Freud used to leave out as the hidden meaning of the unconscious mind is where Lacan tries to focus, and he tries to interpret those unexplored unconscious mind into language, or he tries to interpret that in term or with the help of the language. So using the theories of the linguistic Ferdinand de Saussure, Lacan's approach centers on those moments of slippage or the gap that occur between the understanding of the sign, the physical object, and the signifier, the word or the abstract representation of an object. We all have studied this signifier and signified, and obviously you must have gone through these details in your previous lecture. Now we are to begin with the premise that all literary texts convey more on the implicit level than they do on the explicit, right? And yet it is necessary to place these two levels of meaning into a dialogue with each other in order to demonstrate how the textual unconscious reveals itself. So by putting literary text to the psychoanalytic question, so to speak, we are teasing out symptoms and traces of the author, the characters, and finally the reader. So to begin with Poe's Proline Letter. Proline Letter. It presents us with the three primary formalistic literary device that needs to be emphasized in teaching the tale, right? So it is repetitive action involving substitution, interconnecting subjects, and symbolism. So Lacan's post-Freudian approach to the story builds on this literary device that transforms each of them into a psychoanalytic approach. Repetition becomes understood through metonymy, and metaphor. Excuse me. Interconnected subjects become condensed and displaced as the Oedipal triangle. And the symbolism of the letter, the queen and the curse at the conclusion of the story become the moment at which signification and desire erupt in the text. Now, repetition of metonymy and metaphor. So, Poe's purloined letter begins when an unnamed narrator, N.C. Auguste Dupin, Poe's recurring French detective, are sitting around one evening reminiscing about the earlier cases of the murder in the Rue Morgue and the murder of Mary Roget. So these were the stories which were earlier written by Edgar Allan Poe. So the body of this dead woman function as a metonymy, which means a substitution of murdered woman for the queen here. So the object of the sun's rage. So hovering over this later story in an ominous way, reminding Poe's readers that violence against women lurks in the most civilized of the cities. So, but here the purloined letter is curiously cerebral story on the surface, with all its threatened violence contained on a letter that passes and becomes increasingly soiled between the hands of men and over, so to speak, the elided or here altered body of woman. So here instead of body, it is instead of body for the woman, it is letter which is passing through the hands. In a way, the letter is symbolic to the body of the woman. So here it is necessary to point out that the dominant metaphor in the story is the narrative that Dupin tells of the odd and even game that is played by a cunning child. To outwit his slower pace of their memory, of their money. Now here this game and gaming itself stand as a metaphor for the detective game that Dupin plays with Minister D. For just as the child is able to place himself in the position of his opponents, so is Dupin able to assume the face of his antagonist. Here Dupin says, I fashion the expression of my face as accurately as possible in accordance with the expression of his, and then wait to see what thoughts or sentiments arise in my mind or heart, as if to match or correspond with the expression. That means he is trying to analyze the thought of other person by copying the expression of the other person whose mind he wants to study or read. So by donning green glasses to conceal his scrutiny of Minister D's room, Dupin reveals to his audience of one, how the system of displays physiognomy works. That means the expression, physiognomy means the expressions of the face. So here, by mimicking Minister D, who was a third party between the king and queen, Dupin has also placed himself in the position of the blinded Oedipus, seeking the truth, because he is unaware about the truth, right? About the mother in another man's bedroom. Now locating her defaced body in the letter. Yes, here the body is metaphor. Fine, metonymy. So in the letter and rescuing her for the rightful and phallic father figure, the king. That means the king should be rescued for the queen. Otherwise, she'll be mistreated. She's being blackmailed by Minister G. So here the body is symbolic, the letter is symbolic to the body of the woman, and here in this case it is queen. Now the story is also structured around two repeated scenes of theft that we had read in the story. First one related by Monsieur G, the prefect of the Persian police, and the second one by Dupin. In the first scene, which Laka refers to as the primal scene, yes, it is the repetition. Fine, we are discussing the repetition here because obviously first scene occurs and the similar scene occurs again. So in the first scene, which Laka refers to as the primal scene, three people are in the boudoir of the queen, and although this is only implied, we can infer that these three people are the cuckolded king, the adulterous queen, and the wily thief of the incriminating letter, that is Mr. D, who steals the letter in plain view of the queen in order to hold political power over her, in effect to blackmail her. That means the purpose was to blackmail the queen. Now, this theft of the letter occurred when the minister quickly substituted one of his own letters with a similar heading and lettering in place of the queen's letter, which she had hurriedly placed on top of her table. Although she was able to see exactly uh, what he was doing, she was powerless to draw attention to his act without alerting the king to the contents of the original letter. Now, later, this scene is repeated when Dupin insinuates himself into the minister's room, locates the soiled and disguised letter in plain view above the fireplace of the minister, and substitutes his own letter signed with an ominous curse. Now, while Poe uses these two scenes of theft to structure his story like two sides of folding panel or sides of a folding panel, with much theoretical discussion of gaming and psychological identification between the two scenes. Now, Lacan does something else with the two theft. For him, as for Freud, all repetition is a recourse to and reenactment of the death drive, which he calls Thanatos. Fine? Thanatos was the Greek personification of death, and in English it means death instinct. Now, an earlier and ultimately much more powerful impulse than the pleasure principle, that is eros, that supposedly motivates human behavior. Right? So, in the pursuit of the purloined letter, both the police, the patriarchy, and Dupin appear to be caught up in the family romance, with the letter functioning as displaced substitute for the mother's body. I hope you are getting the meaning of the displaced self and how the symbolism is working here. The letter is symbolic to the mother's body. Fine. Now, as Lacan notes, the letter can only be understood as a pure signifier. Yes, although the two thefts seen in their sheer repetitiveness have to be understood as part of sign, the signifying chain, which itself is controlled by the specific laws of foreclosure, which he calls as Verwerfung, repression, Verdrängung, denial, Verneinung, and displacement, which he calls Estelong. Fine. So these are the terms which is used by Lacan. So in placing, obviously if I would like to discuss this term, then obviously we can say that it is foreclosure repression. To understand these terms, you can just understand this. Freud uses the term Verwerfung in a number of desperate ways, but Lacan focuses on one in particular, namely the sense of a specific defense mechanism which is distinct from repression, that is Verdrängung. So, in which the ego rejects the incompatible idea together with its effect and behaves as if the idea had never occurred to the ego at all. So in 1954, basing himself on the reading of Wolfman case history, Lacan identifies Verwerfung as the specific mechanism of psychosis in which an element is rejected outside the symbolic order, just as if it had never existed. Fine. So this is foreclosure. Foreclosure means rejection, that you don't want to accept the existence of something. Fine. So this is what is foreclosure. Now, moving on to Verneinung. So it is the German word for denial or negation. For both Freud and Lacan, denial plays a central role in the stability of the ego, which must not only refuse satisfaction to many of instinctual impulses of the id, but also deny its very nature as an internally divided entity in order to perceive itself as an autonomous integrated I. So this denial of internal division of the ego results in reconciliance that Lacan views as constitutive of human consciousness. So next is displacement, which is Anstillom. So deformation and anxiety, combination and conceptualization, consciousness, drive, false memory, negation, signifier and signified. This is displacement according to Lacan. Now, in placing this two signifier, that is letter and sign, the theft, against each other, we can see much more concrete terms how Lacan defines like his own slippery concepts, how they differ, and how psychoanalytic properties like repression enter into post text. But what exactly is being repressed and displaced in this text, that is to be understood. So we will understand it further with interconnected subject in our next lecture. So with that I end this lecture. Thank you all.